Tamara, a successful and beautiful single mother of two young girls, appeared to have it all. She had a thriving career, a successful business, and enjoyed traveling and spending time with her friends. Her life seemed to be filled with the vibrancy of family and accomplishments, and had recently ended her 14-year marriage with her husband, but remained in close contact with him for the sake of their daughters. On the surface, everything appeared to be going well. However, beneath the surface, things were far from perfect. No one truly knew what Tamara was going through behind closed doors. Despite her external success, she was quietly enduring emotional and psychological turmoil. What seemed like a simple separation was far more complex, with her ex continued manipulation and violence seeping into every aspect of her life. How far can unresolved emotions and control issues go when one partner refuses to let go, even after the relationship ends? What drives a person to take such extreme actions, and how can a seemingly normal life mask the darkest of secrets? Welcome to Crime Berry Stories. Subscribe and hit the notification bell icon for more stories. This story takes us to Greater Manchester, a vibrant and diverse region in the United Kingdom. Known for its rich industrial history, bustling city life, and lively cultural scene, it is a place where tradition meets modernity. The city is famous for its iconic landmarks, as well as its thriving music scene that gave birth to bands like Oasis and the Smiths. It is also home to a proud sporting culture, with world-renowned football teams adding to the city's dynamic energy. But like any big city, Manchester has its dark side too. Behind the glitz and glamour, there lies a gritty reality of crime and danger lurking in the shadows. On July 7, 2021, at around 1:30 a.m., 43-year-old Tamara returned home to her residence in Greater Manchester, United Kingdom. She had just finished a late-night care visit, and along with a co-worker decided to stay at the house for a few hours of rest. Tamara's home, where she lived with her two young daughters, Tia and Mia, had been her sanctuary since February of that year, following a separation from her husband, Aubrey Poole Paddy. After arriving home, Tamara and her co-worker quickly settled in. Her co-worker went upstairs to the first floor to sleep, while Tamara went to her bedroom on the second floor. One of her daughters was already fast asleep in the adjacent room. All seemed calm, but in the early hours of the morning, a tragedy was unfolding. But what Tamara didn't know was that someone else was already in the house. Earlier that evening, her estranged husband, Aubrey Poole Paddy, 46-year-old, had broken into her home. He entered without her knowledge, forcing his way in and hiding inside the house, waiting for her to return. Aubrey was not just waiting, he was preparing. He brought with him an arsenal of items: a hammer, several knives, a pair of gloves, a metal exercise bar, and a length of cord. His intentions were chillingly clear. Once inside, Aubrey positioned himself out of sight, hiding as Tamara arrived home and settled in for the night. He even set an alarm on his phone, ensuring he would wake up at precisely 3:30 in the morning, when he believed Tamara would be sound asleep. It was calculated. It was cold. At exactly 3:30 a.m., Aubrey's alarm went off, cutting through the silence of the night. With deliberate intent, he crept upstairs to Tamara's bedroom. She was lying in bed, defenseless, unaware of the horror about to unfold. Aubrey attacked her with a metal exercise bar, delivering blow after devastating blow. The brutal assault left Tamara critically injured, but she fought back. In her final moments, she displayed remarkable strength and courage, trying to fend off her attacker. Her resistance enraged Aubrey further. He assumed she was no longer alive and began to leave, but as he descended the stairs, he heard a sound that stopped him in his tracks. A scream. That scream brought him back. He turned around, raced back upstairs, and grabbed one of the knives he had brought with him. Without hesitation, he stabbed Tamara multiple times, 8 in total. each act of violence more calculated and unforgivable than the last. The quiet of the night was shattered. At 3:30 in the morning, cries could be heard coming from the upper level, and shortly after that, Tamara's husband was spotted sprinting out the front door. Tamara's co-worker, sleeping on the first floor, awoke to the sounds of chaos, made a phone call to the authorities, and reported that Tamara had been assaulted and required medical assistance. The co-worker was aware of who assaulted Tamara and provided the police with information indicating that it was her husband who was responsible. Aubrey Poole Paddy, who is 46 years old, phoned the police and confessed that he had assaulted his wife, but he told them that she deserved it. Aubrey Poole Paddy called the police, but when the police arrived, he had already left the scene, so they didn't find him at the residence. After arriving at the residence, the officers discovered that Tamara required immediate medical assistance. She had incurred major injuries and was promptly brought to the hospital. However, Tamara's injuries were too serious, and by the time she got to the hospital, she had already been declared dead. She had been brutally beaten and stabbed many times. According to the findings of the investigation conducted by police, Tamara had lived in the residence since February of 2021, which was the same month she ended a relationship with her husband, Aubrey. Tamara's relationship with Aubrey had been turbulent for some time. They had first met in Cape Town, South Africa, where Tamara was living. Aubrey, originally from Pretoria, was employed by the South African Navy. The couple moved to the United Kingdom in 2004, seeking better opportunities, and together, they started a family. Tamara worked tirelessly to provide for her children, earning a master's degree in law while balancing the responsibilities of raising a family. Despite their personal challenges, Tamara and Aubrey were married for 14 years and had 2 daughters, Tia, 15, and Mia, 10. They even started a business together, Greenleaf Health and Social Care Limited, a company that provided care services for adults. But despite their business partnership and shared family life, their marriage was coming to an end. In February 2021, Tamara made the difficult decision to separate from Aubrey, and she had been living on her own since then. The couple's relationship had been marked by control and manipulation, and Aubrey's actions in the days leading up to Tamara's death made it clear that their separation had only fueled his anger and possessiveness. Aubrey's behavior had become increasingly erratic and controlling. He had shown up at Tamara's house the day before her death, demanding she give him her phone. When she refused, he struck her in the face. Later, he sent her a series of threatening text messages, some of which apologized, but others were chilling in their intensity, including one that read, "This is the last time you had disrespected me." Just 2 weeks before her death, Tamara discovered that Aubrey had been secretly listening to her voicemails, further violating her privacy and instilling fear in her. Tamara shared with friends that his behavior was unsettling, and it was the primary reason she distanced herself from him. Yet she never revealed the full extent of the abuse she had endured, keeping her pain hidden from those around her. Aubrey's assault on Tamara was not a spur-of-the-moment act of rage. It was premeditated. On the day of the attack, while Tamara was at work, Aubrey broke into her home, hiding in wait for her return. He had come prepared, bringing a hammer, several knives, a pair of gloves, a metal exercise bar, and even some cord. It was clear that he intended to do far more than simply confront her. As the night wore on, Aubrey set an alarm on his phone, allowing himself to rest as he waited. When Tamara arrived home, she was unaware that her estranged husband was waiting to exact his violent revenge. At 3:30 a.m., when he knew she was fast asleep, Aubrey launched his brutal attack with the metal exercise bar. Tamara fought back, but the assault was relentless. Thinking he had killed her, Aubrey hurried downstairs. But then, just as he was about to flee, he heard Tamara's final scream. He ran back upstairs, grabbed a knife, and stabbed her 8 more times before finally leaving the house and calling the police. When the police arrived at Tamara Paddy's home in the early hours of July 7, 2021, they were confronted with a scene of unimaginable horror. Blood stained the floors, and the home bore the evidence of a vicious, calculated attack. Tamara had been brutally beaten and stabbed, and despite emergency responders' best efforts, her injuries were too severe. As investigators combed through the scene, the evidence began to paint a chilling picture. Outside, near the house, a neighbor moving their car made a startling discovery. Hidden behind a parked vehicle was a knife, the very weapon Aubrey Poole Paddy had used to stab Tamara multiple times. It had been discarded in haste, a grim reminder of the violence that had unfolded just hours before. Inside the home, police found even more damning clues. Aubrey had brought a horrifying array of tools with him: knives, a hammer, a metal exercise bar, gloves, and even a length of cord. Each item spoke to a level of premeditation that was both cold and calculated. He hadn't stumbled into this moment in a fit of rage. He had planned it. As officers pieced together the sequence of events, they were interrupted by an unusual phone call. On the other end of the line was Aubrey himself. He confessed to the attack, saying, "I am sorry for what I have done, but she deserved it." His words were as shocking as the crime itself, a horrifying attempt to justify his actions, to place blame on the victim he had so cruelly taken from this world. But Aubrey wasn't waiting to turn himself in. When police arrived at the scene, he was nowhere to be found. He had fled, leaving behind the destruction he had wrought. For days, the authorities searched for him, piecing together his movements and gathering evidence to ensure justice would be served. Finally, just a few days after the murder, Aubrey Poole Paddy was located and taken into custody. He was formally charged with the murder of Tamara Paddy, a crime so brutal, so premeditated, that it shocked the community to its core. The arrest marked the beginning of a long road toward justice. But for Tamara's family, her friends, and her children, it was only the first step. They were left grappling with the unbearable loss of a beloved mother, colleague, and friend, taken in an act of cruelty that no amount of time could ever truly heal. When Aubrey Poole Paddy appeared in court, the weight of his actions loomed heavy in the room. He pleaded guilty to the charge of murder, sparing the court the need for a lengthy trial. But the evidence presented during the proceedings left no doubt about the calculated and premeditated nature of his crime. The prosecution laid bare the chilling details: Aubrey's forced entry into Tamara's home, his calculated decision to hide and wait for her return, and the arsenal of weapons he carried with him, tools of destruction he had brought with clear intent. They described the brutal beating with a metal exercise bar, followed by the vicious stabbing that ended Tamara's life. Each piece of evidence painted a picture of a man who had come prepared to take a life. The court heard harrowing testimony about Aubrey's controlling behavior in the months leading up to the murder. His obsessive monitoring of Tamara's voicemails, his violent demand for her phone, the threatening text message that read, "This is the last time you had disrespected me." Each detail revealed a man unwilling to let go of his grip on the woman who had chosen to leave him. But most heartbreaking of all were the lasting consequences of Aubrey's actions. The court acknowledged the devastating impact on Tamara's 2 daughters, Tia and Mia, 2 young girls who had not only lost their mother, but also, in many ways, their father. The presiding judge, Elizabeth Nichols, did not mince words as she delivered her remarks. "In that moment," she said, "the defendant effectively deprived their children of both parents, one through death, the other by the annihilation of trust in their father, who, up until that moment, they believed they knew and loved. You waited in the house for your wife to return from a late-night care visit, knowing that your daughter slept in the adjoining bedroom. So clear and considered were your intentions, you even set your phone alarm, giving yourself a chance to sleep and ensuring that your wife would be asleep before you attacked her. Like so much violence against women, you tried to place the blame upon the victim, suggesting that she had wronged you and that you were driven to this conduct, even going so far as to say she deserved it. There are no excuses, and no fault lies with the victim, Tamara. This offense is entirely your responsibility. No woman should have to endure at the hands of a man what Tamara did in her final hours. For his heinous crime, Aubrey Poole Paddy was sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum term of 23 years. It was a punishment that reflected the brutality of his actions and the devastation he caused. As the sentence was handed down, Aubrey broke into tears, his sobs echoing through the courtroom. But for those who loved Tamara, the pain of her loss could not be erased. While justice had been served, no sentence could ever bring back the vibrant, loving woman who was taken far too soon. The brutal murder of Tamara Paddy left an irreplaceable void, not only in the hearts of her family but within the entire community. For her daughters, Tia and Mia, the tragedy was something they could never have imagined, losing their mother to the hands of someone they once trusted. Tia, her eldest daughter, now 15, spoke of her mother with deep love and sorrow. "My mom was my best friend," she said. "She was always there for me no matter what. I can't believe she's gone. It feels like my world has fallen apart." Mia, only 10 years old at the time, found it harder to express her grief, but her loss was no less profound. "I miss my mom," she whispered in a statement shared by the family. "She used to tell me stories and make me laugh. I don't understand why this happened." The pain they carry will never fade, but their memories of Tamara, her love, strength, and unwavering support, remain etched in their hearts. They now face a future without the woman who was their guiding star, and they are left to pick up the pieces of their shattered lives. Tamara's death sent ripples of shock and disbelief throughout the community in Greater Manchester, where she was known not only as a devoted mother and professional, but as someone who dedicated her life to helping others. Tamara's work with Greenleaf Health and Social Care Limited had touched many lives, and in the wake of her death, her colleagues and friends rallied together to honor her memory. Memorials were held in Tamara's honor, with friends and family gathering to remember her for the loving mother, dedicated professional, and kind soul that she was. The community came together to support her daughters, offering condolences and helping them through their grief. Thanks for watching, and if you like stories like this, support our channel by subscribing and turning on the notification bell icon so that you will be notified whenever we release new videos like this.